Reviving Kathmandu is a light bidding and set collection game that is slowly becoming one of my favorite filler games out there. I really like this one a lot. It's coming to Kickstarter February 20th, which likely might be when you're seeing this video, so you can get yourself a copy of it there. Or if you're watching this video thousands of years in the future, well, I have buried a copy in my childhood home, in the floorboards of my childhood home. So if you want to get your hands on a copy and you can't find one anywhere, well, you better go searching and you better know a little bit about my life. But this is a fun game. It's by Lemery Games, who brought you Chili Mafia, of Pablo the Pepper fame, who you may have seen on this channel. And they also, their last Kickstarter was Bug Chawl, a pay what you want Kickstarter. So when they said they were coming out with another one, I said, yes, I like you as a company. I want to talk about it. I want to review it. And I'm glad they sent it to me because I like it more than Chili Mafia, which, hopefully Pablo won't hear.
Did somebody say Pablo? Hey, what are you talking about there, wise guy?
I wasn't saying anything. Come back later. It's too early for a bit.
That makes sense. Don't want to.
Here's how you play. It's very simple. The game takes place over 8 rounds. You want to build the best buildings over the course of those rounds. So every round you're going to get a chance to get 2 cards. These cards are double-sided. They can be used for either spot of the building. You will use these cards to eventually build 4 different types of buildings. A Buddha, which is 1 layer, a 2-layer, a 3-layer stupa, and a 4-layer pagoda. Obviously, this stupa likes the 3 layers. How you get these cards, though, is the best and interesting part about this game, and also what makes it quite unique and I think pretty exciting. Every person has 5 coins. They're from 1 to 5. These are the value of these coins. The higher number means more value, and the more value means the better chance you have of getting the cards that you want in the middle. Every person will bid a chip in player order face down, and then you'll reveal all of those chips, and whoever bid the highest gets all of the cards in their row or in their column. If there's a tie, then it's whoever's closest to the card gets it. But if you bid a 5 and somebody else bids a 4, well, you are going to take out any of the 4s that are trying to be in contention for those cards. And if you don't get the 2 cards from the good cards that are face up, that give you choices and give you multi-uses, you then get to draw cards from the red deck of cards, and that gives you cards that are 1 use. They only have 1 side. What are you going to do? They're less versatile, but you still get cards that you can then hopefully match up with things down the line. But what's also great about this bidding system is that once you use a chip, it's gone. I got this 5 chip, yeah, I got that row of cards, but now I put it on my awesome dual-layered player board, and I cannot use it until the chips are reset at the halfway point in this game. And that makes for a really fun and exciting bidding experience, because if I use my 5 early on, then I know later on if something comes up that you and I might be in contention for, I won't be able to get that, because you can put your 5 down and I won't be able to beat it. And so then the question becomes, okay, well, I know I can't beat that if you put your 5, but did you put your 5 down there, or are you trying to make me think it's your 5 so that I try to take other cards and not fight you for it? And there's a really fun back and forth, a very small mind game that happens. Honestly, you're going to spend a lot of your time focused on your own stuff, and there's not going to be that much competition for things. But when there is, it's kind of exciting to see what the other player has used, especially as we near the end of that 4th round. Because at the end of the 4th round, you'll have 2 chips left. And one of them you'll get to put face down and take cards as normal. And the other one you get to score for points, which also incentivizes you to hold on to the higher value and not spend them on cards, because then you get more points later on. Honestly, the points are a little bit negligible because you also can use this card to pick up a discarded card from anybody's area. And the higher number you have, the earlier you get to choose from discarded cards, which is also another cool incentivization. So I love how this game incentivizes you to hold on to your high chips and only spend them when you really want something. And it's that give and take and the push and pull there that makes me want to keep returning to this game, and I think makes it interesting. If it was just a random set collection game, Who cares? You're building buildings, whatever. I don't care. But it's this bidding aspect of it that makes it feel fresh and unique, and it makes it a little reminiscent of Raw by Reiner Knizia. That's the only game that I could really compare it to, because Raw, you have a certain number of valued chips that everybody knows around the table, but in Raw it's different and has a different flow and is a lot longer. Then once the fourth round is done, you've gotten your points or your discarded card with chips, you collect all your coins and you get to do it again. So you get to do that twice at the end of the 8 rounds. You see who has the most points, that's the person who wins. How the points are scored is pretty simple. Each card is going to have a little number on it, and if you build your building to that stage, you get that many points. You take the top number of whatever buildings are completed, you get that many points. You also get a color bonus for any completed buildings, so you're going to want to build buildings of all the same color. And then you finally also have these special objective cards which incentivize you to get Buddhas of a certain color, or the bottom bases of a certain color, or match the same color if you can't do it of a full building, match the same color of your 3 and 4 level buildings. Honestly, these I think are uninteresting and don't impact the game basically whatsoever. And the reason for that is because everybody gets one, so you're all going for different colors, so then it makes you just go for different colors and there's not that competition. And then for the 3 and the 4 buildings where there would be more competition, you're gonna wanna get the buildings all of the same color anyway, so having a thing that incentivizes you to do a thing that you're already incentivized to do, it doesn't really make sense. But that doesn't matter to me. How I would like these implemented more is if it was one general objective for everybody, I think, and you would be fighting over that or fighting to complete that first, let's say. I think that could be a lot more interesting than the way the objectives are currently laid out. But it's fine, because it's very secondary, tertiary, quadrillionary to the actual gameplay experience, which is quite fun. I think I've expressed it as we've gone through that overview, but I've really quite enjoyed this. And it's all down to the bidding and the flow of the bidding and the fact that it doesn't take too much time. I played this at a 5-player, a 2-player, and a 3-player. With the 5-player version, the selection of cards that you can choose from, it becomes larger. I think that's a bit interesting because you have more cards to choose from, more are going to come up. There's also more competition for where you're going to place your disc. In a 2-player version, you're going to each place 2 discs down every round, and you're going to get 4 cards every round, and you play, again, 8 rounds. And so you just reset your chips 4 times instead of 2. And you get a lot more building possibilities and a lot more points. And going from a 2-player to like a 3 or a 5-player game, you're thinking, oh man, I really have to care about what I'm picking up. Whereas in a 2-player game, you're kind of drowning in cards, and it's a lot easier and potentially friendlier in that sort of section. But I like it at all the player counts, honestly, that I've played it at, because the core mechanics of the bidding remain consistent. If they didn't do that, well then it wouldn't be a good game. But it is a good game. And one that I'm excited for to be on Kickstarter, and I think is really worth checking out. The few nitpicks that I have, one has to do with this prototype production quality, which probably won't impact you, again, unless you are that person who in 1,000 years is digging up my floorboards, in which case take the one on the right, because that's the new copy that I got, and the one on the left is the prototype copy. But if you're not that person, it is worth mentioning that the screen printing on these chips were kind of wearing off. My father was holding it in his hands, thinking desperately, and he ended up smudging one of the tiles. And in a game where you don't want to know what somebody's put down, that can have significant gameplay implications, which is why I'm bringing it up. So don't get your sweaty, moist hands all over these tiles. But again, I feel like that's likely a prototype issue, but I figured I would bring it up just in case. Otherwise, the quality of the game of this prototype is really nice. I love the packaging. I love that it comes in such a small package. I love that there's a nice neoprene mat board to go along with it. The card quality is really nice. The dual layered player boards are really nice for scoring your stuff. Like, this is a game where they have clearly put in a lot of care to it. And I don't know how much it's going to cost. They put out a question to their previous backers of Bug Chawl, who pay what they want. They said, hey, how much do you want this to cost? And they gave a varying level of costs, and we'll find out when the Kickstarter happens. But it is clear that there's like been a lot of deluxification and care going into this packaging, and it's gonna feel nice to play, which is great. I'm cheap, so I obviously want it to cost a little bit less, but...
Cost a little bit. What are you saying there, wise guy? You're being a cheapskate?
Sorry, no, I think
Yeah.
if it cost
What?
$200, that would be not
That's
enough.
it?
If it cost
Yeah.
$500, it wouldn't
Higher.
be...
Make it
This
higher.
shit, if you get this for under
Yeah.
$1,000,
Yeah,
you're
what do you
getting
say?
the deal of the
Yeah,
century.
it is a deal.
And you should-
What is it? What are you crying? Stop your
Yeah,
crying.
you should pull
Talk to
you
the
should pull the
people.
trigger right. No, you shouldn't pull
want
the
me to-
trigger right now.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
You should not pull the trigger, but you
What
should
do
pull
you
the
say?
trigger. Oh God!
Mixed
please.
messages,
I did
eh?
what you want.
Yeah. Come
Just
on.
give me a pass.
Oh my!
It's not going to look good for
You're being
optics.
pathetic, yeah. Wise guy.
Turns out sobbing for your life does work. Hashtag beta male for life. Yeah, the production quality there is amazing.
You freaking bet it is.
But that one little thing should be looked at. The other major issue, and this is actually a major issue for me, is the iconography on the cards is not great. The iconography is fine, but it's really small and it's tucked into a corner. And the art design of the buildings made it so that a lot of elements of the buildings look too similar, and they shouldn't whatsoever. When the whole purpose of the game is to get certain sets, you need to know that if you're picking up a card and bidding on something, it's part of the set that you want. And if there's any room for someone to think, oh, that base looks very similar to that base, the only difference is that there's a little stairway in between one of them, especially if you're playing at a larger 5-player game where we're sitting further away from the board and we can't see the iconography as well because it's really small, and on the side the iconography that's showing, hey, it's actually the third step of this building. You run into the situation where people don't know what they're picking up, and that provides frustration, and then that provides people putting your game away and never wanting to play it again. And I think that can happen in today's board gaming climate where people have large collections and they give it one try and then they don't try it again because they get frustrated with it. That was a point of frustration, but this is also something that I have talked to the designers about, and has been flagged in previous playtests. So I'm interested to see how that gets addressed. And I think it will be addressed. And I hope the art direction changes or the iconography becomes larger, because really, yeah, it made for a bad user experience. And once you get the hang of it, after your first game, you kind of see the differences and it's easier to pick up. But if you're playing on a larger table and people are sitting further back, it's harder to see what's what. And especially because there's so much going on with the cards, with the two dual-sided things. You're looking at one, then you're looking at the other. And so there's a lot of information to need to be able to grab and instantly sort of assess, especially you want it to be instantly accessible for the time that this does take, or you want this to take, which is in that 20 to 40 minute range. That was a bit annoying to people who I played with. It wasn't that annoying to me, but it was annoying to people who I played with. And when they played it again, they said, okay, well, I can see it now. I see what we're doing. But you shouldn't have that experience. So that's just something to be mindful of, is that the user experience currently isn't as good as it could be, but I know that they are going to address that. So I'm excited to see how that changes throughout the campaign or throughout playtesting or whatever. That is really my only gripe, though. For what this does, it plays. I really, really enjoyed it. I like the bidding aspect of it quite a bit, and they have this this chart on the side of their box. They did that on Chili Mafia as well. It says gamer and family and luck and strategy and calm and energetic. And I think for the most part, this pretty much nails the experience that you're going to get. It does. Although I think it's a lot more calm than energetic. But that scale is just there because Chili Mafia exists, and that is very energetic when you put on your mafioso voices and say, "Hey, Jimmy Nardello, you met my friend Jimmy Nardello," in your best Pablo the Pepper impression. I feel like this one's decent for families. There's not too much going on in it, but there is enough to make me, as like a pretty serious gamer. I don't like to laugh. I like to be serious about games. I'm a serious gamer. Yeah, that's me. As somebody who likes complicated stuff, the bidding system was still exciting enough for the time that it lasted to make it worthwhile to play and to legitimately want to play again. I'm looking at some other filler games on my shelf right now that I've enjoyed, and I would pull this out before quite a few of them, to be honest. Doors of Carta Aldabas, yeah, that one, I'd like this more than that. Point Salad, oh, this would be tough. Point Salad's still pretty good. Point Salad does a different thing. I really like bidding, and I like the possibilities that this offers. I don't want to oversell the importance of the bluffing aspect that can happen. There's not going to be that much bluffing that happens, right? There's not going to be too much of trying to suss out your opponents and really read each other's mind. It's going to be like, yeah, I think you put your 5 there. All right, I'll go there. But the fact that it does offer a little bit about that, I think really helps amplify and push this game to the top. So I think it's one worth looking into. Check it out. See what it's like when the campaign launches, which is right now if you're seeing this video, or tomorrow. I try to put these out when the campaign launches so that you can, actually go and look at it for yourself and don't have to take my stupid opinion for it. But yeah, I really do think you should check this one out. Whereas Chili Mafia it was fun, but it was just fine for me. This one I feel has the potential for a lot of longevity in my collection, and yeah, I was really impressed, and I had a lot of fun. So for what that's worth, there you go. Thanks for being here. Thanks for liking and subscribing. My name's Chris George. I do not have a catchphrase, but I do have to put myself now into the witness protection program by saying anything less than completely complimentary about Chili Mafia. Okay, gotta go. Bye.
My family. Hey, what are you still doing here? Go subscribe to Pablo's Pickles. Yeah, get yourself one of these games. Build the pagodas. Whoa.